Welcome students. In a country like India, which is diverse and has asymmetric federalism, when we discuss about simultaneous elections, the debate was very much heated. Now, it has taken a step forward to discuss about one election in a single phase. When I say single phase, let's delve into the discussion today with the topic One Nation and One Pool. As part of this, today we are discussing how the definition would be and how the impact would be on expenditure, logistics, and will that create a level playing field or will that impact the values of federalism? So these are what we would be discussing in the whole video. So first thing, when I say one nation, one poll, it itself means we are not just conducting simultaneous elections for various levels of federal structure, center, state, even the local bodies, but also we are conducting in a single phase. As we said, this definition itself brings an advantage of reduction in time of election conduct. So MCC would be reduced. So as election code time period is reduced, you can have more time for policy framing, and expenditure also would be reduced as the delay may incur overrun of costs. The second thing that will help is the very expenditure of election conducting mechanism, because the expenditure, if you conduct multiple times, needs multiple staffing, multiple logistics, and also multiple repurposing of machinery. So the second thing is about expenditure. It would obviously increase if you don't go for a single phase election and simultaneous election. We would come back to this. What are we trading off to reduce this expenditure? We would come back to this in next parts. Though we would say the expenditure would be reduced, we would be trading off repurposing of same staff. The number of staff in terms of armed personnel or unarmed personnel of election staff who would conduct the elections would be very limited in present scenario. That means you are conducting election in multiple phases, which is evident that we are repurposing the same CRPF Jawans, we are repurposing same police and other people who are armed, and also few officials who are election staff are also being repurposed. So repurposing can't be possible. So this repurposing part would be traded off. Now the next part would be about, will that create a level playing field in terms of the same expenditure when it comes to the party expenditure and exchequer of the state? So now, national parties would have an undue advantage is a notion. Now, after that, even the state parties or any other recognized parties has reduced advantage, but they would definitely have more advantage than an independent candidate. How? When the question arises about how do they have that advantage, it's clearly evident about the star campaigner expenditure. This star campaigner expenditure is not merged in the individual expense of the candidate, instead it is merged in party expenditure. When it comes to national parties, you can have more number of star campaigners and you can have a bulk set of expenditure, which would give advantage to national parties, and they may also undermine the local issues. So the second thing is that the independent doesn't have any chance of star campaigner expenditure itself. So he is disadvantaged not just when compared to national parties, but also about state parties. So when it comes to expenditure, he doesn't have that advantage of scaling for the bulk expenditure or also the star campaigning part. Now, If this is the case, the last thing which we can't ignore, the most important part, is about what about the values of federalism? When you go for a nationwide single phase election, the issues that are pertaining to local arena would be undermined, is a notion. How? The very structure of our constitution being a centrally biased one, or at least a quasi-federal one, as K.C. Ware has mentioned, the very value of federalism may be undermined unless there is a separate election that can be conducted for local bodies or states, is a notion. For example, when you say about national interest, itself being vague term which has no definition on itself, can override any kind of issue that is pertaining to a local arena. If this is the case, then the broader thing comes about changing the structure of parliamentary form of election. It may be transformed into a presidential form, because throughout the country you can have a single figure who can ensure his charisma would be overpowering the local candidates. The same thing may happen within the state level. A single personality can influence the whole state rather than an independent candidate. The very value of partyless politics that are to be propagated at local body level or at most decentralized level would be traded off. And what about the asymmetric federalism? The Article 371 subclauses from A to maybe H or IJ as well. So even those articles may also would be made hollow from inside, though they have their existence in constitution. Will they be finding some value in themselves? Is the next one. With all these things, should we go for if all these things are ignored, is it possible to create this kind of one phase one poll election? Is the question. Because rather than thinking about all these things, first we need to be aware, do we need a constitutional amendment? Do we need any kind of structure that can make this poll happen? For this, we are discussing the same points that are out from Ramnath Kovind report. So the first thing that comes is about the way local body elections would be conducted. The remainder period of the re-elected person would not be as long as 5 years. So the Ramnath Kovind committee has suggested similar way the local body elections are conducted only for the remainder of the period. The state elections should be conducted, which may compromise the values of federalism, which might impede the very value of federalism, which is basic structure. So the tussle may comes, why not conduct national elections only for the remainder of the period and let states have their adjustment, is the first question. The next problem that would come with constitution itself is every state draws power individually from the constitution. If two different states go for elections differently, the vertical issue, though addressed, the horizontal issue is very tough to address, which can't even done by constitutional amendment. It's only about the mutual understanding among the states if they are ready to give up their remainder of the period, which doesn't sound to be feasible in the present political scenario. Putting all these controversies aside, hope you could understand the basic advantages and disadvantages and what are the hurdles and what can be done as Ramnath Kovind committee suggests. So just to recap, we have discussed about the definition, and also we delved into how the exchequer and party expenditures can be influenced and how the logistics would be resultant of it. Logistics is nothing but an outcome of what is being traded off with expenditure. Now, as a result of both, we can't trade off the values of federalism because we can't compromise on creating level playing field for anyone who is contesting the election, because in a republic like India, the very value of republic ensures that anyone can contest to any post. In a democracy, we can't trade off the value of republic and we can't become a dominion of any other country. Hope you understood the whole discussion and you can be confident about framing your own thoughts about it, which you can comment below, and also try attempting questions on this. Till the time I'm back before you without any delay, within a day, it's time to bid adios.